Hey, hi, how's it going? I'm gonna be real. This video is, it's a little different from my typical post. Instead of me just watching some videos and adding absolutely nothing to the topic like I usually do, today I've actually got a topic that is for the most part serious and like an actual genuine issue that I have with the channel. An issue that is largely swept under the rug, just like kicked under the fridge. Pretty much nobody is talking about this. And do I feel like I'm qualified to do it? No. No, not at all. But this information just kind of fell into my lap, and I would honestly feel bad if I didn't say at least something about it. If you've watched my videos pretty much at all in the past year, then chances are you've seen or at least heard of Nutshell Animations. Pretty much it's a channel that just takes literally every trending audio to ever exist and then animates their little group of characters acting out said audio. It's a harmless channel, or so I thought, but I found their content to just be cringe as fuck. So I made a video, literally just reacting to their shorts. That's it. I was just making stupid jokes. You know, the Beto classic. And when I originally dropped that video, it was received really well. Matter of fact, that video is still to this day one of my best performing videos ever. And when it came to the general consensus, people were agreeing with me, with most of the comments just talking about how cringe he was. But there was a few comments that were just kind of like weirdly incriminating. They weren't like saying anything like that's legally bad, but it was definitely enough to raise a bit of a red flag. Things like, fun fact, they literally pay animators to animate for them. These animations aren't theirs. Which in and of itself isn't really a big deal. Like, sure, it's kind of scummy to, steal an audio and then on top of that, do none of the work and have other people do it for you. I agree, it's scummy. But what really kind of shocked me, and again raised the red flag, wasn't necessarily that he was paying for animations, but more for the fact that I did not see any kind of credits given to said animators. Ever. Not once. And you'll see that throughout this video, it becomes a bit of a trend. But either way, again, those comments weren't terrible, so for the most part I just kind of brushed it off. But then the comments started slowly getting a lot worse. From an animator's perspective, the animation is impressive. Seems like it takes a couple days of video. I actually know a guy that worked for him, and his main complaint was that they never got any credit. There's about 20 animators working for his channel, and he doesn't know any of them. For his sake, I don't want to reveal his name, but he overall says the experience working for him is fine, but it's so unfair the artist never got any recognition. It's weird. Now, about the time that I received this comment, as well as the hundreds before them calling Nutshell out for the same shit, that was about the time that my general outlook on Nutshell changed. He was no longer just a cringy animator, and more just like clearly not a great person. Which seemed very weird to me, because amongst the comments calling him out for, just not crediting his workers, I also saw a weird mix of people saying that he's a great person, and about how when they were younger and just starting out in animations, Nutshell would actually comment on their work and say how good they were. So I was kind of in this weird spot where I was receiving opposite information from like half the fan base. And obviously I'll go into more detail on this later, but I eventually figured out that he was really only commenting because they were, young, aspiring animators that he could manipulate into doing his job for him. But at the time, I didn't know any of this, so I decided to do the most noble thing I could do, which is to just forget about it entirely. I mean, dude, to be honest, that shit way above my league. I'm not the type of dude to call somebody out for, actual bad business practice. And to be honest, I'm doing it now and it's still above my league. But whatever, I think I'm doing all right. Anyways, like I said, I just decided to forget about it. And I did for about 3 months. That is until I stumbled upon yet another comment on this 3-month-old video of another person calling out Nutshell. And this one, though not much worse than the other comments, brought up an entirely new point that in conjunction with all the other comments really started to make shit line up, exposing this shitty company. I worked for these dudes. They pay their animators $50 to make a fully animated TikTok with the worst sounds I've ever heard and give zero credit. It may sound like that's a lot, but trust me, it's horrible pay compared to how many hours go into animating each animation and how much they get for them. Their monthly pay is around $234K. Bros are greedy. I'm pretty sure they're not even doing it legally. Now, obviously, the whole monthly pay / they're not doing it legally thing, that's all just hearsay type shit. Like, there's no real backbone to that. And I guess technically them paying $50 per animation doesn't really have a backbone either. Like, there's no real proof there. He's just saying it. But that piece of information, plus all of the other shit I've already heard about Nutshell, just kind of seemed to fit in. Now, obviously it didn't sound 100% true, but like maybe 50%. Either way, it led me to at least looking into Nutshell after 3 months of just forgetting about him. Now, in my initial search, I didn't actually find anything that led me to believe he was underpaying or whatever. But then again, I didn't really look. Like, I'll just be completely real. I wasn't actually searching. I was really just looking at his new videos. And I realized that he had gotten worse. His videos were significantly more cringe. So I decided to make yet another video where I just say nothing important and laugh. But this time, nearer to the end of the video, I decided to include that comment that I just showed. And obviously, I said that it was all allegations and that I didn't 100% believe it. But that, mixed with the fact that he doesn't even animate his own videos and the fact that he doesn't make his own jokes, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I felt like including that made sense. And I definitely didn't think that anything would come from it. I kind of just threw it in there as like a, whatever. Literally the entire video is kind of a shit post. I did the stereotypical devil horns on a guy that I found cringe. Again, definitely a shit post. But fast forward literally 2 days, and the shit post became, a lot more than just a shit post. Basically what happened is that I was contacted by 3 different people, all claiming to be animators for Nutshell, and outright saying that these are not allegations, and he does in fact pay $50 measly ass dollars for them to do his job. Which, let me just say right now, because I already know that you're prepping your nothing burger comments and you're saying, that's plenty of pay. No, it's not. No, the fuck it is not. I know literally nothing about animation, never done it in my life, and I still know that $50, especially coming from a channel this large, is nothing. And trust me, later on I go into very extensive detail about why that pay is horrible. But anyways, after proving that they were, in fact, all animators for Nutshell, I, of course, decided to press them for any information surrounding all of the comments I had gotten, and they were more than willing to share, under the stipulation that I just keep them anonymous, which of course I will do. So from now on, they will go by Animator 1, Animator 2, and Animator 3. And later on, when we get into the messages, Animator 1 is going to be green, Animator 2 is red, and Animator 3 is blue. So the conversation started like this. Hey man, saw your Nutshell video you posted the other day with a few friends and wanted to reach out and let you know that it is not alleged. He pays $50 per video and I can provide concrete proof along with screenshots of the conversations we've had too. If you're going to use this in a video, please keep me anonymous. Now this is just one message from one of the animators, but the other 2 basically said the exact same thing, so I'm just not going to include them. Either way, after this message, obviously I asked them to prove that they worked for Nutshell. And while I can't show any of what they sent me because it would just blatantly out them, I am 100% sure that they work for him. And by the end of the video, you guys will be too. They basically sent me videos that they had made for him in the past, as well as progress pictures, like outlines, project timelines, all of that. So at this point, I was 100% convinced. And Animator 1, being the person that seemed to have the most information, is the one that I talked to the most. So after proving that he worked for Nutshell, I asked, wait, so on average, how long would you say it takes to make one of his videos? He said it varies because of the length of the videos, but for me it takes at least 1 or 2 days each. I said, wait, so how many hours do you put on them per day? Also, just real quick, gotta say, don't mind the profile picture. I just, you know what, I don't even have to explain myself. This shit's hard as f. Anyways, he said that he works about 4 hours per day. So it takes him around 8 hours per animation and he gets paid $50. Which again, I'll break down the pay for all of the animators later, but that is like $6.50 an hour, which is ass. Complete ass. Honestly, I think that I explained it perfectly when I was talking to him. I said, so basically what you're telling me is that if you're a skilled animator, you're better off flipping patties than working for Nutshell. Which is 100% true. If you are good at animating and spend time perfecting your craft, you literally will be underpaid by Nutshell. So if you're thinking about working for him, I would strongly suggest that you don't. Anyways, later on, Animator 3 ended up backing up Animator 1's claim about how he spends 8 hours. Not that I didn't believe him, because his videos definitely look like he spends quite a bit of time on them. But basically Animator 3 said, I know Animator 1 takes like 4 to 8 hours, but our other homie, Animator 2 shits these videos out the fastest. 1 hour each because he has like presets for the mouth movements and stuff. He played it smart. Us, on the other hand, we like to do frame by frame, which basically means like we make original drawings for each frame rather than focusing on copy pasting stuff. And holy bro, actually not worth it. I just recently started animating for Nutshell last month, and I'm just going to do it the way Animator 2 does it. I was a bit too passionate with my first work. And that's when I brought up the point of, as sleazy as it is, your best bet is to make shitty animations that take like an hour max, because 8 hours for $50 is just robbery. That's like $6 an hour, which is true. Listen, the system that Nutshell has set up for his animators literally rewards people for being lazy. If he pays a flat rate of $50 every time and you're doing that shit in an hour, honestly, that's good pay. $50 an hour is not bad. But that doesn't change the fact that that's just not a good way to run a business. And it's also not the way that most people run their business when it comes to animations. Look right here, Animator 3 says, also he pays $50 per video, but if it's over 30 seconds, he pays $100, which is actually so f***ing shit. It's such a shitty way to pay. Most companies or commissions pay by the amount of seconds you animate or per hour you work. This motherfucker pays per video as a whole. That's so unfair. Which I agree. That is unfair. If the way that he was paying was like industry standard, I would totally understand it. But it's just not. And for good reason too. There is a clear separation between the animators and between skill level, right? The one that is more skilled, that is delivering a better product, should be paid more. You should be paying for their time because they are just objectively worth more than someone that isn't putting any effort into it. But in the case of Nutshell Animations, that is just not what happens. And to really prove it, just to really push this point to you, I asked Animator 1 to send me a screenshot of every video he has ever made for Nutshell, as well as the amount of views each video got. And I also asked Animator 2 to do the same as well. Animator 3 is like brand new to the whole Nutshell thing, so I just didn't think his numbers would matter. Anyways, after counting each video and adding up all the views, I found that Animator 1 has made 23 videos. And just keep in mind that these are the ones that Nutshell has posted. They had brought up to me that there was times where, he would compliment one of their animations but just not post it. So, clearly this isn't going to be the most accurate thing ever. Just because he has 23 videos up, that doesn't mean that's all he's made. I'm sure there's been plenty that haven't been posted, but just from what we have, he's made 23 videos with a combined total of 84,108,000 views, which I then took that number and multiplied it by the amount that YouTube normally pays for shorts, which is around 15 cents per 1,000 views. And obviously, this isn't going to be an exact representation of just how much money he made from these. But it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you just understand the scale. You understand just how much these animators are getting And in this case, I found that Nutshell made $12,166 just off of Animator 1. And going off of the 23 videos he made, that means he was paid about $1,200, which doesn't seem terrible, but then you gotta factor in the fact that he spends 8 hours per video. That is $6.50 per hour of work. Whereas Animator 2 has made 59 videos with 166,564,000 views and has generated $25,000. With the 59 videos he's made, he's been paid close to $3,000. It's about $2,950. But the big difference between Animator 1 and Animator 2, other than the fact that Animator 2 has made more videos, is the fact that Animator 2 spends like an hour and a half per video. Which, if you do the math on that, you see that he's making $34 per hour. $34 per hour. It is night and day. Animator 1, $6 an hour. Animator 2, $34. Even though if you average the views per video, Animator 1 gets more views. He gets around 3.6 million views per video, whereas Animator 2 gets 2.8. So why is it that he's making 5 times more money than Animator 1 is? Again, dude, $6.50 per hour, $34 per hour. It makes no sense. And the thing is, the reason that Animator 1 averages more views isn't a secret. It makes sense. The quality is, again, night and day. His videos look great, whereas Animator 2's not so great. Which obviously isn't a diss, he's doing it on purpose and playing it smart, but still, at the end of the day, that just goes to show just how stupid Nutshell's payment terms are.
If I'm able to look at your company and say that the people who are purposefully being lazy are playing it smart, then clearly there is something wrong. I shouldn't have to say this because it's common sense, but you should not reward laziness. That's just not something that you should do as a company, but the system he has set up is verbatim rewarding laziness. And he is still, somehow, in my opinion, underpaying both of these people. Both of them. Animator 1, definitely. Like, he's getting but I even think Animator 2 is getting slightly underpaid because, like I'm about to show, they're not just animating. They are also creating the videos from the ground up. So after I asked for the screenshots and I, shared the numbers and whatever, I asked Animator 1, so what's the behind the scenes like? Like when he asks you to do an animation, what does that entail? Does he send the audio and explain what it should look like? Or does he just set you loose and basically make you do all of it? In which he replied with 3 different screenshots. The first one is some like AI generated video that he wants to steal the audio from. And the debriefing he gives is literally just make the dude be Hazelnut and the sister Peanut, which are like 2 of his characters. But that's it. He doesn't explain it any further. He literally just says that. Change the 2 characters. That's it. So all of the other little creative changes that, especially if you're an animator, you understand what I'm saying. There's all of the little things that, need explaining and, like movement, overall vibe, like whatever it is, there's nothing of that. There's no kind of instruction. It's just, hey, make these 2 different characters, but don't copy the video. You got to do all that shit your own. Okay. Just change these 2 characters. It's like, bro, that's not even a good commission. I swear to God, I put it on my life that any Fiverr animator, if they got this, they just wouldn't do it. Because you are supposed to explain shit. You're supposed to, tell what you want. This is not that. Anyways, in screenshot 2, he sends one of his own videos that another animator made, and he says, a remake, but up the humor and fluidity. Keep the characters the same, but go off the impact of the joke as much as you can. I leave the visuals to you. This one's a little better than the last one, I'll admit, but that is still nothing. Like, I just find it absolutely bizarre that this dude doesn't even make the jokes. He just steals the audio. He doesn't make the animations. He has other people do it for him. And he doesn't even come up with any part of the animation. None of it. None of it at all. He literally just said, I leave the visuals to you. Brother, that's your job. I mean, dude, what do you do? What, like, I'm being straight up for real. What does this guy do other than press the post button? And like, listen, I understand that I'm maybe getting worked up about some stupid shit, but it's like, this would all be fine, like him not explaining it. It would all be fine if he just paid the animators what they're worth. But he doesn't, even though you can easily tell here that they run his channel. All of it. He does nothing to contribute to his own channel. He doesn't even help with the ideas. The best debrief I've seen him give is in the 3rd screenshot. He said, next audio, have Nutshell and Hazelnut looking at a computer screen with a picture of Obama chowing down a hot dog like one of those ones from the video, and have them go back and forth with those bars about Obama. Which, obviously, I have 0 context for that, so I have no clue what he's talking about. But all that aside, he's at least helping. A tiny bit, but I would still say that he's definitely not doing enough. Especially not for $50. For real, would you do this? If your boss gave you instructions that were this shitty and unclear, and you know that you're about to spend 8 hours on it just to make 50 measly dollars, would you do it? I know I wouldn't. 100%. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd tell him to fuck off. Especially if said boss relies entirely on me to run his company. Listen, I'm not going to dwell on this because I have a lot more to go over. And this is a comment that I've made in the past. This dude does nothing for his channel. Nothing. You'd expect more of him when it comes to pay. Because the people he's paying literally do all the work. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, that's just the payment section of the video. Trust me, it gets a lot worse. Anyways, after asking about the behind the scenes, I said, one question that I do have though is about crediting animators. Does he say that he will and just doesn't, or does he outright tell you there will be no credit? To which Animator 1 said, he never has said he would credit his animators. Once, I responded to the comments under the animation I did for him that said, nice animation, and I replied with, thanks, I'm the animator who made this video. And then Nutshell contacted me in the DMs and told me to stop replying to comments because people were beginning to recognize my style under his videos. He said his brand is based around having no face or something like that, and told me to stop replying as a whole. I can provide screenshots from this as well, which obviously I asked for the screenshots after a tasteful diss. And here are those messages. Good to see people appreciate your animation in the comments, huh? Lol. The f is that response? By the way, if you don't mind, could you please refrain from individually responding to comments that comment regarding the animation? The purpose of Nutshell Animation is to be identityless, and we don't want to put an individual to pieces. We've got about 20 animators, and they are not to identify their individual pieces. It's not a problem at the moment. It'll become a problem when other animators want to start heckling under their video, and we want to make sure the comments don't take away from the content. My agency pointed this out as they've seen multiple responses from you. Just keep it in mind for next time. I told my agency you didn't know, so it's not an issue, so no worries. We make sure there's no identity to the content, especially no one identifying themselves in the comments. It's cool if others know themselves. Then he says, oh, okay, sorry about that. No big deal, it's okay. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I appreciate your work and I get happy that you get recognized with your style too. And then he says, sorry if it seems rude to ask, but why do you have it set up in that fashion? Usually for people who have a team of people making work for them, they usually have credits at the end. No, that's not usually the case, and it's entirely up to the brand. The sole purpose of the Nutshell Animation theme is to be identityless. No race, no face, no color, no ethnicity, faceless creator. No one knows who the creator is, let alone the animators. I hope you respect that, as it is extremely important to the entire brand. Hope you understand it's more about keeping the brand values in line. There's no credit system within the videos, that's why it's payment per creation. So listen, I'm going to break this into parts and, really dissect it in just a second, because pretty much everything this guy just said pisses me off. It's extremely manipulative, but one of the big points that I'd like to address now is him saying that crediting the animators would take away from the content. That is bullshit. Blatantly. That is a lie. He does not believe that. Nobody believes that. Nobody has ever believed that. Nobody will ever believe that, especially in the case of a YouTube short channel that, when you really break it down, just steals jokes. That's it. That's what the channel does. In my opinion, there's not really much that can be taken away there. But whatever, that channel aside, if we're just talking animations in general, crediting the person who did the work is not going to take away from the work. Actually, I'd say that it would add to it. Nutshell, your channel is f***ing soulless. Scrolling the Nutshell Animations catalog is like taking a stroll in a desolate wasteland. There's nothing. There is no personality. Trust me, bro. You would benefit from putting a face to your animations. Crediting your animators would add a level of humanity to your channel that it has never had. It would no longer be just a channel that steals jokes. It would be a channel that helps animators practice their craft while rewarding them in the process. You crediting the people that make you would have a full 180 effect on the channel, where it would be a good thing. But that's not what you want. Clearly what you want, and just going off of the messages that you sent, what you want is for people to think that it's a one-man army. And I'm just a really hard worker. You're fucking greedy, dude. That's what it is. It's not about holding values and keeping your brand identityless. It's about making as much money as possible and sucking your own dick in the process. And that point is only further justified by the fact that you pay 2 doubloons per animation. Like, dude, you're not fooling anybody. That's clearly what the f is going on. Anyways, a few points that I'd like to go over from these messages. He says, the purpose of Nutshell is to be identityless, which again, no, it's not. We don't want to put an individual to pieces. We have about 20 animators, and they are not to identify their individual pieces. I think it's kind of wild that he's talking about these animators as if he's their boss. At the end of the day, there is no contract. There is no employment process. It's a commission. They can comment all they want. And I know that he's not really going after the animator here. He literally starts the conversation with, could you refrain? But it still just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, he's talking a little bit too stern here. Anyways, he then says, it's not a problem at the moment. It'll become a problem when other animators want to start heckling under their video. I think it's f***ing bizarre to use the word heckling here, as if the animators going into the comments and claiming their credit, the credit that you refuse to give them, is malicious, or they have ill intent. They want to tarnish the Nutshell name. That is not what's happening, bro. They're in the comments claiming the animation because why? Because they did the animation. And you won't tell anybody. Yeah, dude, if I spent 8 hours on an animation that you underpaid me for, then refused to credit me, you bet your ass I'd be in the comments. I'd say something about it. It's not an aggressive attack. It's not heckling. It's claiming credit where it's due. And also, it's not doing any damage. Let's be for real for a second, okay? You say it's about protecting the values, which I do not believe. But even if it is, like I said earlier, Animator 1's videos get like 3 million average viewers. How many are really seeing that comment? How many? Like 20 max? Get over yourself, dude. This just proves the fact that you do not care about the values. You care about your image. And you got your feelings hurt because 20 people were shown the truth. They were shown that you don't do your work. That's why you're messaging him. That's it. Verbatim. You literally just got pressed because 20 people now know that you're not the big man behind the animations. Grow up, bro. My agency pointed this out as they've seen multiple responses from you. Just keep this in mind for next time. Now, I'll really get into this in just a second, but keep that comment in mind. Anyways, the last point I'd like to go over, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but he says here, we make sure there's no identity to the content, especially no one identifying themselves in the comments. As if that's like a normal issue. As if that shit's like written in the rule book that his agency has. It's like, bro, come on. This is either the first time that this has ever happened and you're just making that shit up, or it does happen semi-regularly and it hurts your feelings every time. Either way, this is just LARPing. Hey, my company says not to do that. Okay, buddy. Anyways, after he had sent me these messages, I brought up the point that he's using the agency thing as a shield quite heavily. I said, I honestly think there is no agency, and he's using that as a way of disconnecting himself from his bullshit. So instead of saying, hey, don't comment because it's bad for my channel, he's saying, my agency doesn't want you commenting. My boy, that is just straight up manipulation. Now, obviously, this is highly speculatory, and I do bring it up later, and it's sort of proven wrong. I don't know, you'll see what I'm saying. But either way, he is just straight up manipulating him. Anyways, while this conversation was going, I got a response from Animator 3 in regards to the crediting system, and he replied with some voice messages. He did eventually give me permission to use them, so I will show those now.
So my friend, he actually commented on one of his animations on Nutshell's post saying, oh yeah, I was the one that made this, responding to a comment that said, isn't this or something like that? They actually recognize it. And he was just confirming it. And Nutshell actually DM'd him saying, yo, dude, please don't tell people that like I'm hiring other animators. Because Nutshell, he's an individual company. He's not individual. He actually works with higher people than him. Like, I don't know, execs or some shit. And those execs hate the credit. Nutshell, I don't think he cares, but the execs dislike it. And so Nutshell just basically like rewords what they say to us by saying like, guys, don't go around telling people that like you made it. Don't go. Well, he actually was the only person who Nutshell has told directly. Other people go around saying, oh, I made this, and he doesn't really care. I think it's because is popular and he has a recognizable style, so it's like it could actually corrupt him, but besides him, like, he doesn't care. But yeah, I don't know why. Maybe like Nutshell's execs, they want him to have this image where he makes everything and he's just a hard worker and like, oh my god, this dude makes all the animations himself, he's so fucking cool. I don't know, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just living by it. Oh, but yeah, we know he won't credit us before we work for him. At least I don't know. I know that. If an animator gets hired by him, who like, because I was already friends with Nutshell animators. If an animator doesn't have any Nutshell friends, he doesn't tell you directly, I won't credit you. I just kind of knew because of my other friends' experience.
So that obviously was talking about the DMs I showed earlier, and just showing that they are real, if you somehow didn't believe they were real. Anyways, the point I'd like to really give attention to is the end, where he says the only reason he knew he wouldn't get credit is because his friends told him. Like, Nutshell does not make that clear. He does not say that you won't get credit, which I guess is fine, because he doesn't ever say that you will get credit. And I'm not even really saying that this is a massive talking point, but just for me personally, I think when it comes to creative endeavors like animating, editing, drawing, like pretty much any of those things, in my eyes, crediting is included. Like, it's just one of those things that comes with the field because it's so easy to do. For real, you just type a name. Done. Boom. Credit given. It's expected. So for this guy to not outright say that he's going to refuse credit is just kind of scummy. Anyways, after he had sent me that, I asked him if he had any proof that Nutshell actually did work for executives, if he had any kind of higher-ups. And he said, so my other friend, who's not part of this friend group, meaning the 3 animators I've been talking to, he also works for him. I'm not sure, but I think he's closer to Nutshell. He basically said he thinks there might be managers for him based off some stuff. I don't really remember, sorry, but I just trust his thought. I never gave this thought because it was months ago, and it was just a little conversation starter, And later on, he expanded upon this story with, yo, remember the friend that told me he thinks he works for higher-ups? Let's call him Friend W. I just talked to another homie of mine who knows Friend W. Let's call him Friend C. I asked Friend C if he remembers Friend W saying Nutshell works with higher-ups, and Friend C confirms hearing Friend W talk about this. The proof is that Nutshell basically said, I'll have to ask my team. But this is all just eyewitness from Friend W, and this is my story and Friend C's story lining up on how Friend W talked about it. I do remember this conversation I had with Friend W, so I'm confident Nutshell has a team. I don't have clear evidence of screenshots, but I do feel comfortably confident. So obviously, this is all just hearsay from a friend who knows a friend who remembers said friend saying something. It's far from proof. And the sentences that he remembers is Nutshell saying, I'll have to ask my team, which, saying you have a team doesn't mean you have one. But I'm just going to assume he does, because at the end of the day, it does not matter. I brought up the speculation earlier to say that he was using it as a shield to look slightly less like a dick, Like, it just does not matter. We all know he's a dickhead. Whether he's more or less, again, does not matter. So after this, I decided to add all the animators into a group chat so that I didn't have to go back and forth. Why it took me this long, I have no idea. But when I made it, I decided to rehash the question of payment, more specifically like what the process was to get paid. And Animator 1 broke it down like this. Step 1 gives you an audio and description of what he wants, which we've already seen is pretty much nothing. Step 2, you animate the video and keep him up to date with the process. Step 3, you send the animation to Nutshell with revisions if needed. Step 4, he sends you another audio to animate with another description. Step 5, you animate that audio and keep him up to date with the process. Step 6, you send this animation to Nutshell with revisions. And step 7, he pays you for your work. Step 1 through 6 is all unpaid work. You need to make 2 brain-dead videos for him in order to get paid the crumbs he gives you. Now, I had skipped past this message at the time because, I just didn't see it. But later on, I said, yo, I guess I didn't realize this yesterday when I first read it, but are you saying that he requires 2 animations before he pays you? He said, yep, both need to be completely finished. I said, does he pay you for both, like 100 total, or does he just pick one and pay you for that? He says 100 total, but you have to finish both in order to get paid at all. If you only finish one, you're not getting payment. To which I said, so in an instance where he sends you one audio and you animate it that day, but it then takes him 3 weeks to send another audio, would he pay you for that first one in the meantime? Or would you have to wait the 3 weeks to finish the second? And he said, you'd have to wait. So if you didn't think they were getting underpaid before, I really hope you understand it now. For this guy, specifically in an instance like this, it would take him 16 hours of work and like 3 to 4 weeks of wait time just to get paid $100. I mean, like, what the dude? Anyways, he said there has been times where he owed my friends $400 with no response for weeks, which I obviously asked for proof, and he said, Well, I don't talk to that specific person anymore, so I can't ask them for screenshots of their conversation with Nutshell. I asked, have any of y'all had a situation similar to that? Maybe not 400, but has there been times where he's ghosted you for less? In which Animator 2 responded with, he doesn't necessarily ghost me entirely, but I'd have to keep reminding him to either give me another audio or pay me in full. Since I shit the animations out quickly, he pays me 400 in full instead of 100 each time. And then he sent me this image. So he says done, he sends the last animation, and then he asks, can you send me the money in full? 3 days later, you can see the dates here, right? The first messages were Monday. The second ones were Thursday. He says, let me know when you're ready.
And then Nutshell basically said that he was about to pay him.
I then asked, so in that situation, how long did it take you to receive payment? Was it the same day he responded, or was it later? Not realizing that this was literally days prior. He said, it's definitely after. This screenshot is the last time he responded. I'm still waiting for my pay. Usually takes him a few days to a week and a half to respond showing screenshots of payment confirmation. Then I said, oh shit, so what's the dates of these messages? It says Thursday. Is this like 3 days ago? He said correct. So keep in mind this was last Sunday. Today is currently also Sunday, so it's an entire week later.
I asked Animator 2 if he had finally been paid for this, and he said that Nutshell did pay him about 3 days after we first talked, so somewhere around Tuesday or Wednesday, so keep that in mind.
Anyways, I responded with, so you're telling me that you made 8 animations over the span of like a week, and then now you're waiting another week to be paid? And he said, basically, yeah. The most I've ever gotten without payment is like 1 to 3 weeks max. I thought the dude ghosted me until I had to remind him constantly. And then of course he sent screenshots,
which I'm not going to show them as to not out the animator, but what I will show is the dates.
It starts with him sending over his 8th animation September 24th. And then it goes all the way until October 9th, in which he finally gets paid. And just keep in mind that that does not include the time he spent waiting for audios. It doesn't include the time he spent animating. It doesn't include the 7 other shorts that he made just to get paid. Like, again, this guy has to make 8 shorts to get paid, which, I mean, is obviously kind of his fault. I believe he set it up like that. But either way, dude, he sent the 8th animation. So this could be weeks, this could be months of waiting for audios and animating. Could be months. He sent the 8th one, and it still takes this dude 15 days to pay him. Again, this is after the 8th one has been sent. 15 days goes by, finally pays for the 8 animations. 8 animations, which, by the way, because this is Animator 2, average like 2.6 million views. So, I mean, again, he's making a lot more than $400. And he's waiting that long? So, I mean, yeah. Aside from him just blatantly underpaying, he also, sometimes, actually pretty regularly, just doesn't pay. Makes excuses, drags his feet. He won't pay you if you've made 1 animation, which is like f***ing bizarre. Again, these aren't your employees, bro. These are pretty much just commissions. So I don't really see your grounds for holding out payment there, but whatever. Either way, it's no secret that he underpays and sucks at actually sending the money over. So knowing all these things, you may be asking, why did these animators work for Nutshell in the first place, and why did they stay? Well, that's actually the next point I brought up. I asked basically how they were introduced, and Animator 1 sent me this. He said, hey Beto, here is what Nutshell texted me when hiring me. Hey Animator 1, I know this is a bit random, but I saw your animations, and geez, you're absolutely talented for being 15. I just had to DM you. We've got this program on Nutshell Animations if you're interested. We pay out animators that would enjoy creating animated clips for us on a consistent basis with no time constraints. We'll give you an audio, and you animate it. Simple as that. I thought you were a talented fit and didn't want to pass on DMing you. Check out our animations. No background art, no color, short clips, super easy going. Interested? He says, oh, okay, all right. Few questions. Do I have like a time limit on making these animations? Like you send me the audio, then do I have like a week's time to finish? And 2, how are you guys gonna pay me? He says you have all the time you need. You can do it in a matter of hours or days, no limit. The sooner, the more you'll keep getting. Then he said, just to show that Nutshell definitely knew I was 15. He saw an easy cash grab because in my situation there was no saying no. Bro saw a golden opportunity. Also, when he hired me, he told me that I can work on these videos at my own pace and there are no due dates, but he's still sending me paragraphs on how he's disappointed in me for not finishing the animation I wasn't even paid for. Then he sent these 2 images, which again, feel free to pause it and read them, but just to sum it up, basically he had sent Animator 1 in audio. He started working on it, but then somebody commissioned him for something else, something that they paid ahead of time for, meaning that they got priority. And while he was working on that, he got a few more commissions, all of which paid ahead of time, all of which get priority, whatever. Basically what happened is that he didn't get the animation to Nutshell in like 3 months, which of course he thought was fine considering that when Nutshell hit him up, he said there was no time constraints. I mean, you saw it right there. He said there was none. But Nutshell then went on a full crash out, saying that he was disappointed and that the animations don't even take that long and it's not that much work. Which, I mean, come on, bro. You used to do the animations. You know that's a lie. Anyways, he ends it by saying, "It's just disappointing, brother. Words of advice just because I'm probably double the age. Any employer will take reliability over talent." Which is true. He's not wrong. But also, every other employer doesn't pay $6 an hour for a skill that takes any kind of talent. Again, this is just another case of the corporate talk, literally just to be manipulative. This, like, oh, you can do better bullshit while also paying nickels for the work is just blatant manipulation. Especially when you take in the fact that A, he is not an employer, there is no contract, they are not employed, and B, the motherfucker has not been paid for the commission. He does not have to get that shit done because no transaction has been made. He could have been sitting on this shit for 6 years and I would still say he's in the right. He's not scamming you. He's not stealing your money. He's putting his time and resources into places that actually pay him what he's worth. God, this guy's just a dickhead. Anyways, going back just a bit to the part where he said, Nutshell definitely knew I was 15. When I read this, all the pieces aligned. The fact that they put up with his shit, the reason he pays so little, the comments I had gotten on my previous video, it just all started making sense. If you can recall from earlier when I was talking about my comments, I mentioned that a lot of people spoke quite fondly about Nutshell, saying that he has commented on their animations in the past, and he was, being positive, whatever it was. But they all have this certain pattern to them, and I'll just go ahead and show you what I mean. So this one says, Nutshell noticed one of my videos probably about 5 years ago, giving me a cool moment when I was a kid, giving me a real boost of confidence to pursue making videos. Now I look at their content, I'm sad to see the channel has become a brain rot content farm. Then we got this one, bro ain't all bad. He commented on my video I made when I was 12 before he even started animating. And this guy responds with, same, that's how I recognized the name. Man, that was years ago. To memory, he was self-promoting under the guise of a compliment. Then we got this one. I used to make animation videos like 6 years ago, and this guy commented on one of them. I had like 100 subs. So I feel like I can't hate him because of that. This one says, I've known Nutshell for a while. He commented on my very first animation years ago, and I started following him ever since he was a small channel. But man, it's surreal to remember that compared to what he is now. Yeah, I don't think I need to keep going. I think you guys can kind of see the pattern. He's messaging kids. He comments on posts from kids or very young people who don't know their worth, people who would be very excited to make any kind of money from their passion and look past the fact that he's just not paying them enough. I think this comment broke it down quite well. This guy actually contacted me about a month ago wanting to hire me for freelance work. He said 26 an hour was too high for his budget. He said he has a team of animators and it makes me wonder how much he is actually paying them. My guess is Fiverr, and poor young animators who are unaware that they are being paid too low for their work. To try to work with my rate, he mentioned how the animators take on average 2 to 3 hours to create an animation. If you know anything about animation, I call BS. Now obviously, seeing this just shows that he doesn't only reach out to kids, and I never said he did, but it does show a clear disconnect between the kids that he reaches out to, the kids who were like, oh, this was a really cool moment, and the adults, where this guy, knowing his worth, put up an offer that he thinks is fair, which is, by the way, far more than Nutshell would ever pay him, whereas the kids the dude's reaching out to just immediately accept it because, like what Animator 1 said, they're in a spot where they can't say no. They want to turn their skill into money. This guy's offering money. They have no clue what their skill is worth because they've never done this before. Nutshell does know what their skill is worth because he has done this before, but he lowballs them anyways. Because why not? It's extremely clear to me that that is what he's doing, right? Like, again, it all clicked whenever he said that he was 15 at the time. Yeah, dude. Like, looking at all these comments, looking at everything I've got, 100% he is just reaching out to people who don't know their worth on purpose. On purpose. Now, obviously, I asked all three animators what ages they were when they first started working for Nutshell, and they were all young, minus Animator 3, who got in because he had friends in the field. But other than that, the other two were very young. And most, if not all, the comments I got from people who were contacted by Nutshell were also very young. I would honestly go as far as to say that most of his animators are minors or were minors when they started working for him. Most. Like, he has 20. I guarantee that most of them were minors. He is just clearly reaching out to young people. And it's not because there's a shortage of adult animators. They are literally everywhere. It's because, like this guy, they just know their worth. And Nutshell is not willing to pay it. He is not. So in conclusion, just to sum up this entire video, Nutshell reaches out to young animators who don't know their worth. He offers a super chill, totally relaxed job opportunity just to turn on that the second they accept. He pays them nickels compared to how much he's making off of them. The way his payment terms are set up literally punishes people for doing good work and putting passion into their animation, meaning that if they're playing it smart and actually maximizing the money they can get per hour, they're not learning anything. They are lowballing themselves. They're putting their own skill level at a lower setting so that they can make more money. He does not credit his animators. Ever, never has, never will. He actually goes as far as to make sure that they do not claim their own credit. And then, when questioned about it, he says that it's to uphold the brand's values, when in reality, it's not. It's so that he can take the credit himself. And back on the whole payment thing, he does not pay per animation. He pays per 2 animations only once they're both done. And it's also not a commission. It's not a payment before the work kind of thing. It's a, hey, make me this, and I'm going to constantly stay on your ass for the entire time until it's done. And then when you send it to me, we're going to do it again. And then I'll pay you. And you know what? It'll be f***ing crumbs. And that's if I even get around to paying you. It's taken weeks before. Like, the dude is just overall a scumbag. This is not a good way to run a company. It's not a good way to run a channel. It's not a good way to treat people. When in reality, Nutshell Animations could be a very good and productive channel that helps out smaller animators. It could! Literally all they would have to do is A, pay them what they're worth, go to the industry standard, dude. Just pay them a set rate per second they have to animate based off of how good they are. And B, credit them. This channel would benefit from putting a face to the animations. It would explain the difference between videos. It would explain the quality jumps. It would explain all that shit, all while adding a level of charm to the channel, where it's no longer some corporate dickhead who's stealing jokes. It's a collaboration of a bunch of super talented people that just needed a spotlight. The channel could be good. If he did these things, it would do a full 180, but it is clear that Nutshell does not want that. This is just yet another story of a YouTuber being greedy. The only difference is that he's not screwing over his fans. He's actively fucking the people that do all of his work for him. Listen, final message, and I'm sure I don't have to say this now that you've seen just how bad he is, but if you are a starving animator, you are better off eating your own hand than working for Nutshell. Do not do it. You will go nowhere. You will never get the credit you are deserved. You will never get the payment you are deserved. It will not ever happen. It has never happened. It's been brought up multiple times to him, and he actively says that it's to uphold values and all this stupid bullshit. It's not to uphold values. It's to keep you down. Don't work for him. Anyways, sub to the channel. Join the Discord. Thank you to my Sigma tier channel members, Elite Alien, Pearl, and Rim. All right, I'm going to bed.